Exciting Poppy Playtime news and rumors, Fortnite crossover, new book, behind the scenes secrets, and a brand new game. Hi guys, I'm NimaHorrors and welcome to this video. If you are a Poppy Playtime fan, you are in for a treat because there is a ton of exciting news and interior rumors swirling around the franchise. We are talking potential Fortnite crossovers, a brand new book on the horizon, fascinating behind the scene glimpse, and even confirmation that a completely new Poppy Playtime game is currently in development. Let's dive into all the juicy details. Fortnite rumors. Could Poppy Playtime be joining the Battle Royale? Believe it or not, the world of the Fortnite might be getting a touch of Playtime Co. Back in March. Fortnite conducted a survey asking players which characters from various franchises they would love to see make their way into the game. Among the options listed, none other than characters from Poppy Playtime Chapter 4. This suggests that Epic Games is at least considering the possibility of bringing Poppy Playtime into the Fortnite universe, which would be absolutely wild. Imagine Huggy Wuggy or Catnap as playable skins or even in-game events. However, it's crucial to approach this with a massive grain of salt. History tells us that the vast majority of character features in this series never actually make it into Fortnite. We have seen countless FNAF characters, for instance, appear in these polls, yet they haven't crossed over yet. So, while the thought is exciting, it is still highly unlikely. But hey, a fan can dream, right? Behind the scene treasures, unearthing cut content from Chapter 3. Recently, a dedicated fan stumbled upon the online portfolio of Scott Forrester, elite artist for Poppy Playtime, and unearthed a treasure trove of never-before-seen content. This peek behind the curtain offers fascinating insights into the development process, particularly for Chapter 3. One intriguing find was concept art showing casting the smiling creatures in their iconic cartoon style, but also a drawing of a larger, more imposing catnap in the same aesthetic. It's unclear what this artwork was intended for, but it's a truly unique glimpse into early design ideas. But the biggest reveal by far was an entire early storyboard for Poppy Playtime Chapter 3, from its initial concept to the very end. This storyboard unveils a significant amount of cut content, offering a glimpse into what could have been. Original smiling creatures intro. Instead of the cartoon we saw in the final game, the initial plan was a commercial showcasing real-life plushes of the smiling creatures. This included crafty corn next to a child, Catnap snuggling with another child, and even a short of the line originally called the Cuddly Color Creatures. Following this was a storyboard panel for the Catnap Incident News Report. Early player entrance. The storyboard shows the player being dropping into playcare toward a garbage disposal entrance room, followed by an early design of Oli, presumably an early iteration of a character. Redesigned playcare. The entrance to playcare was envisioned as a large tube leading directly into the dome. The dome itself looked drastically different, featuring more city-like structure and a moving tree wall, which likely concealed the original location of the gas production zone. Original labs area. The storyboard depicts an initial labs room area with red smoke pipes leading out and into the prison lift. Early Home Sweet Home. The exterior design of Home Sweet Home was different and incredibly featured a drawing of a statue with Poppy and Elliot Ludwig, potentially giving us our first ever clear look at Elliot Ludwig's face without the obscured visuals we've seen so far. Altered first dream sequence. This sequence was originally meant to end with the horrified faces of children being displayed on the wall, watching the player enter the happy room. The Happy Room itself contained the lab where Nightmare Huggy Wuggy would appear and chase the player. Kissy Missy's sad moments. A panel shows Kissy Missy sitting in a room within Home Sweet Home looking sadly at a photograph. I think this photograph is real Kissy Missy, the cut toy store. We finally get a glimpse of the interior of the toy store, which was intended to be in chapter 3 but was cut due to development time constraints. The storyboard reveals a large market area that was originally going to house the catnap prototype shrine sequence, which was eventually moved to the cave area. We also get a slightly closer, albeit still ambiguous, look at the shrine itself. Different school design. The school with Miss Delight had a visual distinct exterior. However, the story elements with the school seem to have remained largely the same. Walkway instead of cave puzzle. The cave area following a school, which became a significant puzzle in the final game, was originally just a walkway along the perimeter of the dome leading to the playhouse. Major playhouse overhaul. The playhouse underwent significant changes. The interior design was completely different and featured not only the mini smiling critters but also every other toy, Huggy Wuggy, Boogie Bot, Mommy Longlegs, as antagonists that the player would scare off using the flare hand. The biggest change was the ending. Instead of leading to the playhouse prison, the player would reach a playground type area where Dog Day was strapped to the equipment and eaten alive by the critters, who would then chase the player out by vaulting over the blocked entrance. Counselor's Office Dream Sequence Revision. The second dream sequence after Catnap's ambush was also significantly. Player would enter a mysterious door and parkour across an empty void, eventually reaching a tall, foresty area next to the Playtime Co. factory. The sequence would then feature hallucination of windy stairs and glimpses of the children's silhouettes in Home Sweet Home, the Joy Store again, the school counselor's office, and even the labs with the scientists wearing their masks, which is a very cool detail. Simplified final Catnap boss battle. The final boss fight with Catnap was initially much simpler, taking place within what appears to be the Ghost production zone. Catnap would launch at the player and chase them into a control panel room where he would simply burst into flames. Interestingly, early designs also depicted his body as robotic, suggesting a different origin story where he was a suit with someone inside rather than a larger biological entity. Finally, the prototype would take his body away as the player entered the prison lift. This incredible reveal highlights just how much can change during game development and suggests that Chapter 3, like many believe about Chapter 4, also had a significant amount of cut content, including the intriguing Toy Store sequence and the expanded second dream sequence. Merch Mania, new Chapter 4 items and potential YouTube exclusives. For the collectors out there, there has been a wave of new Chapter 4 merchandise hitting the store. Some standout items include products related to the Justice for Pianosaurus trend and even a Pianosaurus head pillow. On the more intriguing side, YouTube's news has recently reported that there is supposedly something new coming to the Poppy Playtime YouTube market soon. This is speculated to be a whole new wave of merchandise, likely for Chapter 4, potentially including figures of Do Man, a video version of Huggy, and maybe even something for Yarnaby or the Nightmare Critters. Keep an eye out for updates on this front. Expanding the lore, a brand new Poppy Playtime young adult novel. Last year saw the release of the first Poppy Playtime book, the Poppy Playtime Orientation Notebook, with Scholastic, which was a fantastic addition to the role. Now it seems like Mob Entertainment is diving deeper into the literary world with a second brand new book officially listed, titled Poppy Playtime YA 1, Young Adult Novel 1. The description reads, "From the minds of Poppy Playtime comes this original young adult horror novel that is sure to change the way you look at toys, based on the hit video game, perfect for fans of Bendy and Five Nights at Freddy's. The original young adult novel will explore untold lore from the hit survival game Poppy Playtime. Just make sure to read this pulse-pounding novel with the light on, or Huggy may be waiting for you in the shadows." While the details are intentionally vague, it confirmed that this book will offer exclusive lore, which is exciting as long as it doesn't become too convoluted. Interestingly, this book is being written by the same author who penned the Bendy and the Ink Machine books, and some of the FNAF novels, suggesting a similar storytelling style and likely a more traditional narrative format compared to the in-character notebook we got previously. The release date for Poppy Playtime YA1 is currently slated for January 6, 2026, which is roughly 8 months from now. This timing raises questions about whether the book will tie into any potential Chapter 5 release, assuming Mob follows a similar release pattern for their games at the beginning of the year. We will have to wait and see if there are any connections. A second game in development, a retro Poppy Playtime experience. But the surprise don't stop there. It appears that the developers are actually working on a completely different Poppy Playtime game alongside Chapter 5. If you have followed past videos or developers' interviews, you might know that Mob Entertainment has mentioned working on various unreleased and unannounced projects. Looking at their current job opening provides some fascinating clues about what's happening behind the scenes. They are currently hiring individuals to port games onto consoles, presumably including Chapter 4, indicating that console releases are actively being worked on. They are also seeking creature specialists and animators, likely for the monster we will encounter in Chapter 5. However, more interestingly, they have also posted job listings for a 2D pixel theme project, and more recently for someone to create a retro-inspired soundtrack in the 90s era for an upcoming project. The most revealing part of the soundtrack job application is that they specifically want to blend the Poppy Playtime universe with a Sonic-style 90s era game music aesthetic and adapt exciting motifs and composition from previous Poppy Playtime games to fit this retro action style. This essentially confirms that the 8-bit 90s style project they are hiring for is indeed a Poppy Playtime game with music based on existing games reimagining with a 90s sound. Given the 90s theme, it's likely that this game will be present lore-wise as a real game development by Playtime Co. back in the early 90s when video games were gaining immense popularity. With them just now hiring for these roles, it's safe to assume this project is in its very early stages. This news, however, brings up question about Chapter 5 and whether this new retro game might be a way for developers to buy more development time for the main series. It also makes us wonder about the future of Poppy Playtime. The multiplayer spin-off being seemingly abounded due to the focus on the main chapters. The fact that they are now working on a completely different Poppy Playtime game might suggest that Project Playtime is becoming increasingly unlikely to see further developments. There you have it, a massive update on all things Poppy Playtime, from potential Fortnite mayhem to a deep dive into cut Chapter 3 content, exciting new merchandise, a lore-expanding novel, and the surprising reveal of a brand new retro-inspired game. What are your thoughts on all this news? Let me know in the comments below. Thanks for watching. The video is over. Stay tuned. Good luck.